Testing.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
It's a massive Friday night of Senol NPLM men's Victoria football, and here in the southeast, Jack Edwards Reserve Oakleigh Cannons are looking to get their season up and running in a better way than they did last time out, as they welcome Altona Magic, who could hardly have gotten their campaign off to a better start as they came from behind to beat Hume City 3-1. The Cannons, meanwhile, back here at Jack Edwards for the second time in a week, having lost out on the opening round to Preston Lions, the team that knocked them out of the finals series last campaign. Doesn't get a whole lot easier tonight as they take on an Altona side who are looking to take things a little bit of a step further in season 2026. They stabilised themselves under Goran Lozanovsky last campaign, but hoping to push up towards the final spots in 2026. And if they're able to take a result away from Jack Edwards here tonight, they will well and truly have put the competition on notice. They are here to play in the following few months. My name is Oscar Rutherford, here with you for the call for tonight's big game. And it is my great pleasure to be joined by one of the encyclopedic minds of Victorian football, Damir Kulash. Damir, it's one of those exciting Friday nights still with the warmth of summer. What are you looking forward to from tonight's contest?
Well, thank you for that grand introduction. I'd probably say that the interesting thing about tonight's fixture is, in some way, that these were two of the better performing teams of round one, and yet Oakleigh come into this round on 0 points after that late collapse against Preston. Meanwhile, Altona were comprehensive victors against Hume City, and you know, they've got a bit of bounce to them after that one. That should fill them up with a lot of confidence to potentially come here and cause a bit of an upset, even though it's been a long time between drinks for them at this venue.
Well, as Damir mentioned, Oakleigh, despite being unable to take any points away from their opening round game against Preston, that result may be a little bit deceiving. The Cannons putting out a decent showing, and Chris Taylor seems to have thought so as well, because he's named an unchanged 11 for tonight's game. We will run through the lineups fully for you in just a moment. For Altona, it's just the one change, as former junior Lachlan Gillard is into the starting 11. He's replaced Brandon Lawton, who's out of the squad, with Alex Giorgio coming onto the bench for Goran Lozanovsky. And with the whistle of our central referee, Jock Quartermain, are underway at Jack Edwards Reserve. Cannons kicking in the first half from left to right. And the Magic early on the back foot. And it appears that we have a player down just seconds in to the opening half. I didn't catch a total sight of that, Damir.
Yeah, it looks like Ollie Gillard, Altona Magic's third goal scorer last week, has sustained a bit of a knock following a collision between him and his Oakleigh opponent, who, judging by the proximity of where he's standing, might have been Connor Hampson. Gillard, definitely a player that Oakleigh would want to keep quiet. I thought he had a very impressive outing against his former side Hume City last week, and he's definitely one player to keep an eye on. Has represented Sri Lanka at an international level, played overseas in Spain and Iceland respectively, and I'm sure he's looking at his time at Altona to really put his name up there as one of the best wingers in this competition, and he got off to a good start last week. Let's hope this isn't anything serious for him. And Altona can't really afford any more injuries. They have, you know, one of the more inexperienced squads relative to appearances in the top flight, but they are missing quite a bit of experience with Liram Elmazi, Christian Bombachi, Jeffrey Leno and Owen McCluskey all out. But I think he should be fine, even though, yeah, he's back onto the field of play.
Indeed, Altona quickly back to their full complement of 11, with Gillard happy to keep on playing, so they've avoided a bit of early discomfort and being forced into an early change. As we see the first real spell of possession for the night for the Magic. Alex Gust venturing forward from his left full-back position. We'll run through the two starting 11s for you. For the hosts, Oakleigh Cannons, in goal is Tom Manos, number 3 Connor Hampson, number 4 Jordan Hall. We'll pause that thought as Joe Guest has his first peek at goal for the evening. Magic able to get themselves out of trouble and indeed win themselves a free kick. But for the Cannons, Tom Manos in goal, number 3, Connor Hampson, number 4, Jordan Hall, 5, Jacob Tratt, number 9 is Alex Salmon, 10, the reigning gold medalist Joe Guest, 14, Kingsley Sinclair, 15, Campbell Strong, 22 is Joseph Ford, 23, Liston Diaz, and 25, Labib. Whilst for Altona, in goal is Casey Went, number 2 is Hiro Kawaguchi, number 3, the inclusion, Lachlan Gillard, number 5, Garang Aru, number 6, Johnny Stojevski, number 9, Eric Zhu, number 10, Ayman Sordo, 15, Alex Gust, 16, Brian Sutomo, number 17, Daniel Fabrizio, and number 22 is Oliver Keeler. This is Gust for the Magic, looking to carry the ball forward once more. Instead, they'll have to be patient through Aru.
I've stitched you up, Oscar. I do apologise about that. Pronunciation corner. It is Oliver Kellart. So you were correct. Apologies to any family and friends of Oliver's who were listening, who were taken aback as to the mispronunciation of his last name. Thank you to Altona Magic Co-President Marian Tasevsky for clearing that one up for us.
First and last time I take advice from you, Demir, for the night, but that's okay. Oliver Kellart is up and running on that right wing for the Magic. Connor Hampson on that far side, getting ready to take the throw. Things, of course, started very well for the Cannons last week. Didn't take very long for Joe Guest to open his account for the season. Johnny Stojevski tracking back, uses his goalkeeper Went, and there was a little bit of a follow-through from Labib. See the goalkeeper in a bit of strife as a result, and Labib quick to move from the scene of the crime, and looks as if Jock Quartermain won't be taking any further disciplinary action.
Big year for Jock, one of the rising stars of refereeing, not just in Victoria but in Australia, given the fact that he's done A-League women's games this year, refereed in the Australian Championship as well, and he's now taken the mantle of the only Quartermain to be refereeing this competition following the early retirement of his older brother Will for work purposes. So Will, if you're watching, I'm sure you'd be pretty impressed with the exploits of Jock over the last few months.
Casey Went back on his feet and able to send the ball long upfield. Cannons quickly regain possession. This is Labib. Reverse pass is a clever one. And he goes down as well. Loud calls coming from the bench as Liston Diaz hit the deck. Magic, though, do enough to scramble it away, and maybe the first big decision for Jock Quartermain of the night, but he's happy for play to continue. This is a matchup which has heavily favoured the Oakleigh Cannons over, well, for now, an extended period of time. They've won the last 5 meetings between the two teams, conceding just 2 goals during that time. In fact, if you look back at the last 13 times that Oakleigh and Altona have met in competitive fixtures, it's the Cannons who have won 12 of those. But the Magic for tonight, making their first meaningful foray forward, Eric Zhu latching onto that ball and winning his team a corner.
Yeah, Eric Zhu, definitely a player to watch this season. Number 9, recruited from New Zealand, Napier City to be accurate, as Altona prepare to take this corner.
Oliver Kellart presenting as a short option, and it's indeed exercised. Here is Kawaguchi. Threatens to pull the trigger, instead goes the more patient approach, back to Sordo. Manufactures some space and goes along the deck with his left, but Jordan Hall well positioned to send it clear. Sordo looked to be offside, and indeed the assistant's flag quick to go up.
Yeah, just back on Zhu, being number 9 in Altona, probably not as easy as other clubs where you've got an array of attacking options. You spend a lot of time playing backs against the wall, but it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to NPL Victoria football. Players generally from New Zealand have been quite hit and miss. Probably the best case example of a player who succeeded was Brandon Barnes, famously at Dandenong Thunder.
Saw there Labib looking to get the cross in, but the combination of Gust and Stojcevski dealt with him. Now Jacob Trapp using his aerial prowess to his team's benefit. Yeah, Eric Zhu put together a handy scoring record in his most recent campaign in New Zealand. 8 goals in 12 games. And he played previously up in New South Wales as well as in Italy overseas, so a well-travelled footballer is Eric Zhu. Gillard hoofing the ball upfield. And that pass into the middle is a dangerous one, and it could open the door for the Magic. Here's Zhu, pulls the trigger from a long way out, but the deflection took the sting out of the shot. And there to clear it away was Joseph Ford. Brian Sutomo thought about the quick restart, having scored that cracker of a goal last week to get Altona Magic up and running up at Hume City. A couple of really difficult away fixtures to begin their 2026 season. Well, one game and 9.5 minutes in, things going pretty well for Goran Lazanovsky's team. Here's a chance for the cross from Sordo, all the way through, the shot in the box! Altona has an early lead! It's Daniel Fabrizio arriving in the centre of the penalty area, and a superb finish, no chance at stopping it for Tom Manos. And Altona Magic, 10 minutes in, lead at Jack Edwards Reserve.
They look confident inside these opening 10 minutes. Quite assured, and as expected from a team that won 3-1 away from home in round 1. Great work from Sordo, who caused a lot of opposition defences problems last year in VPL 1 with North Sunshine Eagles. Played a dangerous cross into the area, and Fabrizio makes it 2 goals in 2 games. What a start to his season for the player who's wearing the captain's armband tonight for Altona.
Well, what a start it is for the Magic. They were on the back foot in the opening couple of minutes, but they've well and truly sunk their teeth into this game. And as Demir says, 2 goals in 2 games now for Daniel Fabrizio, player who's been with the Magic since 2024. And 28 years of age. Well and truly making his mark for Altona this campaign. Collart, the target of that long crossfield ball. And indeed, the Magic have themselves a corner, so they're right on top of the Cannons at the moment. This time from that far corner flag, the side of the ground where the new stand is. It's an in-swinging delivery to the back post. Aru was the target. And a clear decision for a goal kick. Well, it's far from a promising start for the Cannons, but if they're looking for a good omen in both the games that these two teams were involved in last week, it was the team that scored early that ended up losing. So they'll be hoping that that trend continues tonight. That early Fabrizio goal having the Magic in a good position. Referee's whistle there, I think, for a graze of the hand from Campbell Strong. And so Fabrizio quick to restart it, but too far advanced for the referee's liking.
Did mention Altona's injury absentees earlier. I think the big loss for Oakleigh so far this season has been Cameron McGilp. He is currently injured and is a real presence at the heart of their midfield, entering now his 4th season at the club. As
chance for Eric Zhu in on goal from a tight angle, and the offside flag as well, curtailing the attack.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much his absence affects Oakleigh Cannons early on this season. So far, it doesn't look too good, but like you said, both these two teams were involved in fixtures last week in which the team that scored first wasn't the team that ended up picking up all 3 points.
Cannons have plenty of work to do if they are to turn this one around, but they've got more than enough time in which to do it.
Just a question for you, Oscar. Liston Diaz is a player who's got quite a phenomenal scoring record. 25 goals in 80 games.
Dangerous pass from the goalkeeper, Casey Went. Joe Guest very nearly taking advantage. Appeals to Jock Quartermain, not heeded. In fact, apologies, it wasn't Joe Guest, it was Campbell Strong who was sneaking in upfield. But a heart-and-mouth moment for the Magic.
Just got the sense there that referee Jock Quartermain may have been caught off guard. Didn't really expect that mistake, defensive mistake from Altona Magic to have occurred. And see Joe Guest and a few other Oakleigh Cannons players asking him a question. I do wonder, how assured he is in his decision there, because it not just took him by surprise, but I think it took both of us by surprise as well.
Certainly did. The Cannons press paying off. Seeing Campbell Strong so high up the pitch, and we've got another referee's whistle here. Busy first 15 minutes for the man in fluoro in the middle.
The question I was going to ask you regarding Liston Diaz. 25 goals in 80 league games heading into this season, but most of those have actually come off the bench, particularly during his 3-season spell at Avondale. We saw him last year, exceptional for a poor team that struggled and were ultimately relegated, having scored 10 goals in 12 games, and his absence in the latter half of the season was costly for them. Given the fact that you've got the likes of Alessandrados, Duratovic, Giacarini, are you surprised to see him in a starting role at Oakleigh, or do you think it's been well-deserved given his exploits over the last few seasons?
We just saw there Tom Manos right under the cosh as well. We'll get back to your question in a moment, because Labib is charging down the right-hand side for Oakleigh. Cleverly weighted ball for his captain. Guess telling him just to hold up whilst he was offside, and maybe someone caught in 2 minds.
And I guess before you answer that question, the tone of it is not that, Liston Diaz does not deserve to be a starter. It's more so that throughout the course of his career, he's actually been a player who's been much better, been an impact sub and really hurting opposition defences when he's got legs to burn in the last half hour of games.
Once more, the delivery into the penalty area. Joe Guest lurking again. I suppose one factor to consider in answering your question, Demir, is Labib now. Skips over one. The flick on from Salmon. Labib towards goal. Oakleigh a level. It hasn't taken long. Superb work from Labib. And it's that man that we were just talking about, Liston Diaz, opening his account for Oakleigh.
And another well-worked goal that shared some similarities to Altona's opener. Great work out wide by Labib. Squares the ball back from closer range, and Liston Diaz gets himself right spot, right time. How many times have we seen that over the last few seasons? And he gets his first in Oakleigh colours.
Well, I feel like any answer I might have had to your question, Demir, at this point is a moot point. Liston Diaz very much vindicating his selection from the start with that goal. And there's danger at the back now for the Cannons. A wild swing at it from Eric Zhu. Tom Manos, some miscommunication with his new defence. You see him remonstrating with Joseph Ford still. Well, it's been an end-to-end, non-stop action first 18 minutes of Jack Edwards Reserve. The scoreline remains 1-1 at the moment, but, well, Demir, I called this exact fixture last season towards the end of the campaign, and it looked nothing like what we're seeing tonight. The energy and the attacking intent from both teams is making for an extraordinarily watchable contest.
Yeah, there's been plenty of quality in the final third already so far this game, and in addition to that, there's been a few defensive mistakes that have contributed to quite good goal-scoring opportunities for both teams. And I do wonder if that's the sort of opportunity that Altona look back on later in this game as a real sliding doors moment, should the result not go their way. Because, you know, having done so well to capitalise on the mistake and get yourself in that position, you really have to be putting it on target.
And well, with another couple of moments of play having taken place, Oakleigh have themselves a dead ball scenario. Joe Guest delivers. It's a lovely ball right into the heart of the box. Aru was there to head it clear. Sent backwards there by Campbell Strong. Now Labib trying to skip past Gust. Looking to commit his defender, but the Magic get numbers back. Support provided by Sordo. The numbers, though, for Oakleigh prevailing. Labib looks inboard towards Salmon. This is Guest. And he eventually goes the more conservative route using Kingsley Sinclair. The only thing I was really going to offer by way of a response is that maybe making a living as a substitution for Oakleigh Cannons under Chris Taylor isn't the most viable career path if you're listening, DS.
Very good point, and he's probably a player that would have wanted assurances relating to his position within the team and whether he's a starter prior to making the move to the Cannons, because I assume he would have had a number of suitors, particularly top clubs. You know, he had, as mentioned, a terrific season last year for Port Melbourne despite their relegation, and is quite clinical, as we've seen already tonight when he's given that opportunity. I did try and tee you up earlier in the night for you to disclose the last time that Altona Magic won a league fixture here, so here's your chance now.
2010, Demir. The last time Altona Magic won a league game with Jack Edwards Reserve. 2012, the last time they won a competitive fixture of any kind, that one in the Doherty Cup. But it has been a long, long time between drinks for the Magic at this venue. Ford. Well read, though, by Stojcevski. Skipping clear of Joe Guest and co. Under the pump yet again and giving away the ball. Casey went. Now Labib has Salmon in the middle. That's where the ball heads. Flashes past the post. Well, that is a glorious look goal for the Oakleigh Cannons. Labib causing havoc down the right wing. And Alex Salmon, well, a player of his calibre, he's headed so many goals from those kinds of positions in this competition over the years. Maybe just a little bit of early season rust denying him the chance to finish it off there.
Yeah, you mentioned Salmon being a prolific goal scorer. I don't believe there's a player who's actually scored more goals than him in this competition since he arrived back in 2019. Of course, spent the first 3 and a bit seasons of his career in Victoria playing for Green Gully.
Guest now, once again using Labib. Well, Lachlan Gillard's moved on over to this near side to maybe help out a little bit, and he sends it behind for a corner there.
And if you're wondering how prolific Alex Salmon has been during that period, 82 goals in 132 league games, prolific.
Well, the more you hear, the more surprising it is that he missed that last chance. He might be able to make amends here, though. The corner delivered in. Once again, it's a header on target. There's Hampson, has 2 bites at the cherry and sends his shot over the crossbar. Well, Oakleigh Cannons, things were not looking promising 10 minutes in, but they have turned this game on its head and have their opponents pinned to the wall.
Yeah, just like I mentioned a few minutes ago, that Altona would be ruining that opportunity that they missed to make it 2-1. I think Oakleigh would be doing likewise. Strat got the initial header well blocked, and then Hampson 2 bites at it, the second one of those being the clearer of the 2, and yeah, it's just guys it over for a player who's been very prolific, and not just scoring, but particularly at set pieces.
Well, if Altona are to settle into this game, they will have to find a way to curtail some of the danger down this right flank. Labib has been terrorising their defence in the opening 23 minutes of this game. And now, though, the Magic looking to get themselves a spell of possession. Of course, taking place in the shadows of that new and finally completed stand here at Jack Edwards Reserve. Really making for a much more substantial footballing spectacle. That's a really well-timed challenge, though, as Alex Gust's run was brought to an end by Strong. Continuing his run forward is the Cannons midfielder. And, well, maybe sensing the danger of Labib. 3 Altona Magic players converging on the Cannons winger there. Well, as happens when you spend some time on the back foot, all of a sudden the long ball's forward, a little bit more aimless, a little bit more panic, and Jordan Hall happy to sweep up.
Be ready, because the way this game's been going, anytime I start talking, something happens.
Hampson ball in.
No, the point that I was going to make is we see potentially Altona trying to launch a counter-attack, which gets stopped by Diaz, of all people. First time under the lights, Friday night lights here at Jack Edwards Reserve, and the news the Paris lawyers stand, and got to say, particularly at this time of the year when the weather's still good, it's a magnificent backdrop. You've got the sun setting, you can see a little bit of the city skyline, Eureka Tower to the right of that stand, and the lights as well on it. It's I think we were a bit worried just before kickoff that the crowd wasn't going to be a big one, but looks like we've got a lot of people filing in late, and definitely a few more coming in from the 23s game on the synthetic pitch behind us. And yeah, I'm sure they've enjoyed proceedings so far, as we see both teams trying to assert control over proceedings here.
A lovely little summary. If you enjoyed that, Demir will be back with the weather at 6. Finally, a little moment to breathe in this game as both teams look to take care of the ball a little bit more. Central defensive pairing, Jordan Hall, Jacob Trapp, 2 players with A-League experience. Now Hampson sends it forward to Salmon. Salmon eventually looks to wriggle clear. Kawaguchi chasing him. And Gillard hoofs it up towards the halfway line. Well protected by Zhu. Now there's space down this left-hand side for Sordo. Ayman Sordo continuing his run. Very well defended that time by Hall. And maybe that's the pattern that we might see a little bit more in this game. The Cannons in control of much of the possession and territory, with Altona a little bit more reliant on counter-attacking. We'll see if that does indeed pan out, but they've got themselves a corner now. in swinging delivery. No Altona Magic players really near that ball. And in the end, it was a fairly straightforward clearance from a combination of Oakleigh players.
Just before anyone starts getting any ideas, no, I have not left the commentary booth after Oscar's burn previously, but yeah, just looking at scores around the grounds, plenty happening so far tonight. We've just had our last set of fixtures kick off at 8:30, and the 7:30s are into their second half. So once there's a bit of a lull in play, we'll report you on proceedings around the grounds.
Yeah, massive night of fixtures, men's and women's, across the Senol NPL Victoria competition. There aren't many better seats in the house for viewing Victorian football than here at Jack Edwards tonight, or in a close second at home with one or maybe several of the YouTube streams up and running. So Tom Manos will get us back underway. Manos, of course, crossing over to Oakleigh from Avondale in the most recent off-season. Just had the one moment of communication danger with his new teammates. Here's a chance for Kalat. Connor Hampson read it better. Opportunity once more for the Sri Lankan international. Doesn't pan out as he'd hoped. And now strong for the hosts.
I mean, we joke about the fact that you need multiple screens to keep up with all of tonight's games, but I do think that there is a serious point, as has been conveyed quite recently on the NPL Victoria pod by Mark Ivkovic, about the number of Friday night games and just how disadvantageous that is, you know, for the coverage of the league when you've got so many games at the one time. You know, limits the opportunity for people to attend and watch it online. And, you know, hopefully that's something that, you know, I know that clubs prefer to play on Friday nights for various reasons, but I think, you know, in subsequent years, hopefully that's something that can maybe be addressed with, you know, a lesser share of games being played on Friday night and maybe more tactical scheduling throughout the course of the weekend, particularly in these early rounds of the season when, you know, on a Sunday afternoon you've got, you know, usually good weather, and you've got a few more teams this year that are playing at 3 o'clock, which would be interesting, including Melbourne City, who have taken a 2-0 lead against Dandenong City, not too far away from here at Frank Colohan Soccer Complex.
Well, the good news for us on a beautiful night at Jack Edwards Reserve, 31 minutes have raced by, and this game finally poised. 1-1 the score. Alex Salmon has had the best chance since to give either team the lead. He delivers that cross, but doesn't get too far with it. And now here's the goal scorer for the Magic, Fabrizio. Harangued by Joe Guest, and that results in Oakleigh winning back the ball. Now Strong, looking towards Labib, wasn't able to trap the ball with his back to goal. Salmon the release, but the assistant's flag is up.
Given the lull in play, might be a good time to go around the grounds. So, as mentioned, halftime Melbourne City's got a commanding 2-0 lead away against Dandenong City. And 2-0 is the scoreline at the big one tonight, the Maltese Derby, the first Maltese Derby in the top flight for 16 years between Green Gully and Caroline Springs George Cross. And it's the visitors who, thanks to goals from Luke Lofts and Aydin Mustedanagic, lead 2-0. 1-1 here, Bentley Avondale 0-0 after 17 minutes, and similarly at Geneseo Stadium, it's 0-0 between Preston Lions and St Albans Dynamo. If you've got Football 24, no, Altona Magic are not playing at two different venues. That's only usually reserved for South Melbourne in recent times, given the fact that they're competing in multiple competitions. But just some NPL or VPL 1 results. Bulleen Lions 2-1 up in the second half against Port Melbourne Sharks, as we'll stop my update for Oscar to tell us about this Altona attack.
Well, it's a gust cross in, and it's found its way all the way through to Fabrizio, and he was happy to let it roll behind for another Altona Magic corner. As Demir was talking, one of the nicest spells of possession for the visitors so far tonight. Looking after the ball and gradually working their way forward into a dangerous spot. And now another set-piece delivery. This one fails to beat Sinclair at the front post. Labib starts his run. There's a long-range attempt coming in from Gust. That one never likely to trouble the goalkeeper, and the shouts for maybe a Labib free kick. Well, I don't think Jock Quartermain was even entertaining them, really.
Not known as a goal scorer, Alex Gust, but I'd probably say, no disrespect to Altona, but they haven't got many players that you'd consider to be the best players in their position in the league. But I think they're doing Alex Gust. He's proven himself to be one of the best left backs in this competition over the course of the last couple of seasons, and I'm actually a bit surprised that they've held on to him, given that I'm sure he would have had other opportunities come his way this off-season, but he's elected to remain loyal to Altona, and I think he'll serve him well, because he'll get another season of consistent football under his belt where he can, again, consolidate his status as one of the best left backs in this comp, and he's still quite young as well.
Yeah, just 21 years of age, Alex Gust, now in his third season with the Magic. We've seen him have a real task of it tonight, dealing with Labib. There's a bit of a reckless challenge flying in, but it's unable to stop the run of Ayman Swardo, who voices his displeasure. Now Labib has the overlap from Ford. That's the option he goes for now. Quick exchange between Ford, Labib and Joe Guest. Once more, Alex Gust there to play disruptor. He's given it away here, though. And Garangaro has fouled Joe Guest on his way out. And so, will probably be that man, the gold medal winner, who will deliver another ball into the area from a dangerously close position.
Best player in the competition, Joe Guest. Fair?
Well, the gold medal would suggest so.
I'd also say his overall play since 2019 is fitting of that title. I don't think he's had a bad season.
You know, as well as played through injury and all sorts to continue to contribute his vital role to this richly successful Cannons team. Opportunity to build on that here with this delivery. Right on the goalkeeper's head. It's awkward. It finds its way through to Liston Diaz. Gets another shot away. Somehow, Magic get the ball clear. Guest now looking to pick out the far corner. And there's a coming together. Hampson was inadvertently, I think, brought down by Kawaguchi. And referee content to see it behind for a goal kick. Not the first time in this half that the Magic have scrambled in the last line of defence.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was a foul, but, you know, a goal kick's pretty much the same result there, unless you're giving a card to Hampson, which I think was always going to be unlikely. But yeah, Joe Guest has not only been one of the competition's best players this decade, I'd probably say that, you know, he's continued his fine tradition of number 10/central midfielders that have come from the lower leagues of England and established themselves as the competition's best players, whether we're talking about the likes of Graham Hockless, Wayne Wallace, Nick Hegarty. You can add Joe Guest to that list of names, and he might even be the best of them.
That time it was Garangaroo intervening to curtail the Oakleigh attack, and the ball inadvertently being touched by Jock Quartermain, so he'll drop the ball for the Magic to restart. So you're going down when he saw that ball from Gust was well over hit. And so this game is well and truly calmed from its hectic opening 20 or so minutes. Score remains at 1-1 though. And Altona, I don't think it's unfair to say, have made for a very decent showing. Making life very uncomfortable for their hosts, even if Oakleigh have managed to wrestle back some control of the general play. Garangaroo did very well to control that ball, which was thundered towards him. Now the central defensive pairing of Stojcevski and Gillard will work their way clear. Nice touch from Kalat. Aru sends it towards Gust. Now here's a chance for Sordo along the deck. Oakleigh numbers back in time. Now Ford, charging out of defence. It's Alex Salmon with his back to goal now.
If I can make a general point about Altona, I don't think it's disrespectful to say that over the course of last season, they accumulated points quite impressively. I think they ended up taking 20 out of a possible 24 from teams that finished directly below them on the ladder. But they were a team that played an attritional brand of football. What I'm seeing from Altona so far this season, they're playing a really attractive style of football, and Sordo's the key to that. He's been so impressive. Kellart as himself, and Sutomo as well, is quite a fine ball-playing central midfielder. So credit to the recruitment department at Altona, especially Coach Goran Loznovsky, because he's got some serious ballers on his books this season.
Speaking of which, here is Labib. It's a great ball into the box. Struggle though to get enough power for Alex Salmon as he sees his headed attempt once again off target. Yeah, I mean, as you say, Demir, Altona, they scored 9 goals in their final 2 games of last season, but prior to that, just the 19 scored from 24 in the league. 13 out of 26, 50% of their league games, they failed to score a goal. So that was clearly holding them back for the campaign. But as you say, some really promising signs early in 2026.
Yeah, and who do they play in the final 2 rounds of the season? 2 teams who finished well below them in Port Melbourne Sharks and Melbourne Knights, who both were relegated at the conclusion of this season. And you know, that probably, those 2 results made their attacking record seem a bit more impressive as you've added, given that, you know, it's quite a barren run of lack of goals early in the season.
Clever touch from Salmon as he looks to beat Gillard off his line. Casey went and was able to smother the ball. So into the final few minutes of the 45. Of course, early in the season, always a test of teams' fitness as they head towards the end of an intense first period of play. Stojcevski was able to get the ball out from underneath him to clear the danger. And Connor Hampson on the receiving end. A bit of a lazy challenge from Eric Zhu, and that will prompt the referee's whistle.
In terms of reliable players, you don't get too much more reliable than Johnny Stoichevsky in this league. He's been quite an impressive player for Altona over many seasons now, as we see Eric Zhu pick up a yellow card for that foul on Hampson, who still being attended to by the physio. Hopefully it's nothing too serious for him.
Yeah, and almost the same position that we saw Oliver Collart being attended to right at the start of this first half. The Altona winger was able to continue, so hopefully the same for Connor Hampson. Into the box once more. A header comes in from Tratt, climbing above. And Casey went very grateful that it was straight down his throat. Went the new goalkeeper between the sticks for the Magic this campaign, brought in from NPL Queensland with the Gold Coast Knights.
Yeah, we see keepers often making that switch, as we see a brilliant piece of play by Kellart there, but the Oakleigh defence is able to clear away the danger. When Altona first got promoted back into the top tier, they did have Shane Vitakangas, who himself was originally from Queensland, I think via New Zealand or vice versa. And in subsequent seasons, they've also had Zach Bowling, who is from New South Wales and who ended up going back to Newcastle, played for the Jets as well as Broadmeadow Magic, and he finds himself in round one, sitting on the bench for Oakleigh Cannons. Round two, sorry. But, you know, the good thing for Oakleigh is that they do have someone who's got plenty of experience under their belt, despite being still quite young, as backup keeper, because from what we've seen in recent seasons, backup keepers tend to be quite important for Oakleigh, particularly down the business end of the season.
Or at the end of the opening 45. And Sordo now looking to launch a late attack for the Magic. Gets back the ball and skips past two. Still going, Ayman Sordo, and eventually the referee blows his whistle. Neither Kingsley Sinclair nor Campbell Strong able to stop him. And it's the former Sinclair who is the second name into Jock Quartermain's notebook. Ayman Sordo making himself a real nuisance for the Cannons midfield there. And maybe a late chance for the visitors to snag a lead just before half-time. Well, the council of prospective free kick takers are hovering over the ball. Eventually, the majority make way. A couple of different options. The shot is fairly simple for Manos, you thought, but the bounce made it awkward. Altona continue their attack. There's a shove to the ground. Sordo now. His attempt is blocked. Well, we had a calmer middle period of this first half, but right towards the end, the intensity is picked up again. Hiro Kawaguchi dragged down the man who took the free kick, and Tom Manos, one of the best goalkeepers we have in NPL Victoria, and he just about made a mess of that one.
Yeah, bit of an odd one. Got him, I think, in the face, and real difficult bounce right in front of him, and It's the second time this half that he's looked a bit unsure for quite an esteemed goalkeeper who had a number of fine seasons for Altona, but for Avondale, sorry. But speaking of Altona, a couple of penalty appeals there. I do wonder with the first of those, I didn't think there was too much in the second one, whether Drop Quartermain had a good view of it.
The Magic with another chance to snag the lead. That one is a more conventional take for Thomas Manos, and that'll be the final action of this first 45. It's been a thrilling contest thus far. Altona Magic grabbing the lead 10 minutes in thanks to Daniel Fabrizio's thunderous finish. The Cannons fighting their way back into the game and eventually found themselves at equaliser through Liston Diaz. He then controlled the majority of the first 45, Oakleigh, but Altona Magic showing, especially right at the end of the half, that they remain a real threat as we head into the second 45 of this one. Plenty still to be played in what will hopefully be as engaging a second half as we just saw in the first. But at half-time, the Jack Edwards Reserve, the scoreline reads Oakleigh Cannons 1, Altona Magic 1. Welcome back to Jack Edwards Reserve. Second half underway in this round 2 contest in the Senol NPL Men's Victoria. Oakleigh Cannons 1, Altona Magic 1 at the break. A riveting first 45, which saw the Magic take an early lead thanks to Daniel Fabrizio, before the Cannons got themselves level through Liston Diaz. The game, though, finally poised, calmed down a little bit as the first half wore on. And as we see an early move down the left-hand side through Alex Gust, who looks to get the cross in and wins his team a throw. But fair to say that this game is quite finely poised and remains very much a contest at this point. Aru skips past one, can't get through the other. Goal scorer Fabrizio spending some time on the ball. And the Cannons have themselves a goal kick, and with that, I'll bring back in Damir Kulash for the second half. Damir.
Yeah, this so far has probably been the most evenly poised of the 5 NPL fixtures tonight, and the player that really stood out in that first half for Altona Magic was Sordo, and shouting to Altona's co-president Marian at halftime, and the point that he made was that he was a player who actually approached the Magic wanting to join them and prove himself as a top flight player, and on the basis of what we've seen over the course of the first game and a half, he'll do well in this league. And together with the likes of Kellart and Stu, who has had a more tougher night, given his role back to goal, playing against Hall and Tratt, 2 of the most experienced and dominant centre backs of the league. I think he's held his own.
Here is Liston Diaz, pulls the trigger from a long way out. The Cannons hoping to continue their attack. Here is Hampson. Yeah, Ayman Sordo, a new recruit, brought in from most recently the North Sunshine Eagles. Originally, though, from Morocco, Casablanca specifically. As we see Clark brought to ground. Well, Damir, I suppose, saying to Ayman Sordo that you were looking at that kid, weren't you?
Yeah, and with Sordo and Moroccans in Victorian football in general over the last few years, I thought Saki was another impressive player for Caroline Springs George Cross in their promotion push last year, and even the A-League level saw Zinedine Machash.
Chance here for Salmon. Alex Salmon on the break, thinks about going with the right, waits for Labib, could fall into the path of Campbell Strong. Desperate defending gets the Magic away. And as the attempted release for Zoo doesn't quite pan out.
Yeah, Salmon, one of the most lethal number 9s in the competition when he's racing down on goal like that. Thought that the opportunity presented itself well for Strong there, but ball was deflected into the path of Guest, and just before he could get his foot to it, the Altona defence did well to patch things up, as see Fabrizio chasing down the Oakleigh defenders, and Manos in goals there, applying some constant pressure. He's had a terrific night so far as well.
I'm sorry for before, Damir. That was a poorly devised attempt to try shoehorn a "here's looking at you, kid" somehow into this conversation, including about Ayman Sordo, the man from Casablanca.
Oh, was that meant to be a joke?
I wouldn't say joke, I'd say an observation. Here's Joe Guest. Uses Diaz. Doesn't get too far as Kalat is back supporting his defence. Here's Sutomo running through. Now Fabrizio looking to switch the play over to that left-hand side where there was a little bit of space ahead of Ayman Sordo. Diaz and Guest in combination. And a crunching challenge comes in from Lachlan Gillard. The youngster, the one change from either team made to a starting 11. I'm not sure how you've seen it to me, but I think Lachlan Gillard's more than earned his position, more than justified rather his selection in the starting 11. He's been a real imposing figure at the back. Now Sutomo looking to send it forward to Zhu. Jacob Trapp getting there first, and Tom Manos's clearance doesn't go exactly as he'd planned it out.
Yeah, Lockie Gillard has been an able replacement for Brandon Lawton tonight. Gillard himself is a player who spent quite a lot of time in his youth playing for the Mel Victory Academy and has done well at Altona, firstly in the 23s last season, and earned his senior debut towards the end of that campaign and is looking to establish himself as a bit of a regular in this matchday squad / starting 11 this year round.
That was a magical little backheel flip from Guest to continue this attack. You saw the idea from Diaz, but far too close to Casey Went, who now quickly restarts the counter for the Magic. Through Sordo, who goes central towards Zhu. That one, well, similar to the chance at the other end. Too close to the shot stopper. And a fairly comfortable claim for Tom Manos. Certainly dealt with better than the previous ball to bounce right in front of him in his penalty area. Guest and Diaz, that's a combination that we've seen extensively in the first 6 or 7 minutes of this second half. Once again, though, Ollie Clark getting back and helping out his defence, and here's a chance for Zhu. Eric Zhu held up by Tratt and now sends it back to Kawaguchi. Sutomo, Fabrizio now. Saw the idea with the first touch from Zhu, but Campbell Strong racing back. And now here's a chance for Diaz once more down the left flank. Crunching challenge yet again from Gillard. That one is mistimed according to the referee. And it will be a yellow card for the central defender. Went flying in. Liston Diaz tempting the centre back to do so. And he's suffering the consequences of his skill on the ball, Liston Diaz. But Gillard is the second Magic player to have his name taken down in Jock Quartermain's notebook.
Yeah, I think that's a fair decision. Gillard will need to be careful being on a yellow. I think he's worked really hard in the centre of that midfield, and you know, it's never easy replacing an experienced player like Brandon Lawton, who's a workhorse in midfield, but I think he's applied himself really well against quality opposition, which should fill him with a lot of confidence.
And so, as we saw so often in the first half, Joe Guest just outside the area sends it in. That one was met by Stojcevski. Hall returns it to Labib, who goes high into the night sky. Falls out here for Diaz. Now Guest looking to tee up Hampson. Shouts for a penalty, referee not interested. Header towards goal. Wonderful save, Casey Went. It was a beautiful passage from the Cannons, and the Altona goalkeeper had to be sharp on his game to narrowly tip it over the crossbar there.
Yeah, quite an impressive save from Went, who, like a number of his teammates, will be looking to establish himself as a regular in this league and potentially prove himself as one of the best shot stoppers in the competition. He'll, face a lot this season at Altona as Guest prepares to take this one.
This one a little bit deeper into the box will still result in a shot on goal. It's into the side netting though and catches a deflection on its way through. Oakleigh mixing up the corner routines now. And ultimately, that attempt from Alex Salmon bears no fruit. This time it's a flatter delivery. Guest will get another crack at it. Once more, it's a more floated delivery that time. Garangaro has been a pivotal member of the defence up to this point, dealing with those aerial threats very well on a consistent basis. Now Strong returns it to Sinclair, and the Cannons will recycle the ball. Gillard timing his intervention a little bit better that time to deflect the danger posed by Liston Diaz. Chipped in by Strong. Diaz, it certainly struck the arm of Lockie Gillard, but considering the short distance, you can understand the referee deeming that there was no penalty to be awarded. Ford's long ball makes life difficult for Labib, but he's picked up the scraps. Labib. Onto the left, fires it goal. Wonderful defending by Johnny Stojcevski, off balance, and got his leg into the right place at the nick of time.
Mr. Reliable at it again. You don't make 140 appearances at this level without being as good as Stojcevski has been. Great intervention there.
And so the corners continue. Maybe a little bit of corner fatigue from Joe Guest. That one out behind the goal line, and so it will be a magic goal kick. Yeah, well, from memory, Johnny Stojcevski was just about the best player on the park last time these two teams met at this venue. Of course, has spent large chunks of his illustrious career at fullback as well as at centre half. And continuing at the ripe old age of 32 to be an invaluable contributor for Altona Magic. It's well worked by Sinclair, and he's dogged in his attempts to maintain possession. Labib, his early influence has certainly been curbed, and a lot of credit has to go to Alex Gust for that as he once again wins out in the one-on-one. Guest teeing up Hampson. Well, the lack of space meant that he snatched at it a little bit, and the two former Curzon Ashton men unable to rekindle some of their long-standing connection that leads to goals so often.
Yeah, looking at the game and how evenly poised it is, I do wonder which of these two teams is the first to go to their bench. I think it may be Altona, because I see their team manager Connor Kostadinowski bring a substitute slip to the fourth official. Be interesting to see who Altona bring on. I do wonder if it's going to be either of the two players on a yellow card who make way.
That ball towards Diaz. The winger kept his feet, sent it centrally, and Joe Guest got his shot on target, but driving it into the ground took out all the power from it. Yes, plenty of options for both coaches when it comes to the substitutes bench. For Altona, John Mabok, Gavin Tasevsky, Alex Giorgio, Peter Hatsopoulos, and Julian Rodriguez, all potential outfielders to be brought into the fray. Whilst it's a well-pedigreed bench for the Oakleigh Cannons, even if, as things stand, you imagine that Chris Taylor would be fairly happy with how the game is going. Magic, though, looking to change that here. Down the left-hand flank. Saw Zhu there in the middle of the box, but the cross-in overhit, so no harm dealt to the Cannons. And with that, we will have our first change to come for Altona Magic. And it's the end of the evening for Eric Zhu. And he'll be replaced by one of the new recruits this season for the Magic, John Mabok, brought in from Werribee City in what we would imagine to be very much a like-for-like replacement, one striker for another.
And John Mabok, has had prior top-flight experience, having previously been a member of the Melbourne Knights a couple of seasons ago when he was primarily coming off the bench, getting impact sub-minutes. And he'll be looking at this move to Altona Magic as an opportunity to establish himself like a number of his teammates as a top-flight player. He did have a golden opportunity to make it 4-1 late on last week. That was well saved by Chris Oldfield in Hume goals. It will be interesting to see if he can give Tratt and Halls some trouble, because they are two of the most composed defenders in this competition, as we see a nice bit of play from Joe Guest.
Now Hampson goes centrally. Labib did well to direct it towards goal, but ultimately the pace and the height proving too much of a challenge.
Now, if you were Chris Taylor or Oscar, I know he doesn't go to his bench as early as many other coaches do, but if you were to bring a player on, who would you be looking to plug into this game as a potential spark?
Well, he's obviously got a number of attacking options available to him. I know we're both quite familiar with Mark Pytheriotis' game, and he can certainly inject some dynamism into the front third if he were to be introduced. Thomas Alessandratos, of course, as well. Another of the mid-season recruits last campaign from the Port Melbourne Sharks. Ended with a decent goal-scoring record as well. So you'd imagine that one of those players who can add a renewed bit of energy to the front line might be the way forward for the Cannons rather. Of course, Adem Duradovic as well. A little bit more of a similar player though to Alex Salmon. So maybe that one he'll hold out for a little bit longer. Any difference of opinion from you, Demir?
Suppose the benefit for Duradovic is that he's looked quite comfortable playing out wide in that front three, and I do wonder if it's, Labib, who hasn't made the same sort of impact that Diaz has, as Hampson gets himself into a good crossing position.
Falls here to Diaz. Diaz is shot towards goal, deflects it in. It's cruel for Altona, but Liston Diaz is having quite a night. And from 1-0 down, 2 Liston Diaz goals turn the scoreline around for Oakleigh.
Diaz at the double. Liston Diaz with a well-taken goal. Obviously got a massive slice of luck with the deflection, but he had Altona scrambling there and gets his due reward. It's probably been one of those games where both teams have had their opportunities, and you have to say on the balance of play, neither team probably deserves to be behind, but Altona finds itself in that predicament, and with Diaz on a hat-trick, do wonder with the space that's going to be generated now whether he can get that hat-trick.
Well, if either team were going to score, though, in this second half, I certainly felt that it was going to be Oakleigh the way that they've been doing all the attacking, particularly on this left-hand side. It was the right for the majority of the first. Chance here for the Magic to respond quickly through Fabrizio. Labib tracking back and winning back the ball, though. That's brilliant from the Cannons winger, and he's got space into which he can run. Skips past the Stoichevsky challenge. Labib centres to Salmon. Wonderful block, Lockie Gillard. And as soon as the Oakleigh Cannons take the lead, the game opens right up. Johnny Stoichevsky, I think it is on that far side, looking a little bit worse for wear. Well, that is the second really good look, you'd say, that Alex Salmon has had in this game.
Yeah, it was a well-taken shot there from Salmon after some tremendous lead-up play by Labib, but credit Lockie Gillard, he definitely felt that one. So he covered Johnny Stoichevsky there, and you hope that this has just hurt him in an uncomfortable area as opposed to being something a bit more serious that may require him to come off. I assume he'll get a bit of time here to himself before plays restart. I think both teams are quite comfortable with a drinks breaks as we hit almost the halfway point of this second half. Just some full-time scores to report back to you from around the grounds. Caroline Springs George Cross in a bit of an upset, 2-0 away from home against Green Gully. That's how it was at half-time, and that's how it finished, despite a late red card to Eric Vasiliadis' men. And Melbourne City Youth getting their first win in the top flight. A convincing, it appears, 4-2 victory over Dandong City away from home. So an impressive start to life in the top flight for City's youngsters, who have gone to both Dandong teams and taken 4 points out of 6 from two teams that played finals football last year. Nick Tolios would definitely be disappointed with the fact that his team has only picked up 1 point from their opening 2 games. Some progress scores for you. Bentley, surprise lead, you might say, against Avondale 2-0. And Preston have just scored a second to lead 2-0 against St Albans Dinamo. Got a full-time score in VPL 1 with FC Bullying Lions getting the first win of the Jacopo La Rocca era, winning away from home against Port Melbourne Sharks 2-1 with Finn Harbinson and Connor Bell, the goal scorers.
And play back underway. Johnny Stoichevsky still not looking in a particularly good way. Looking very much as if his night is over. It was more or less the first tackle is mistimed, or which has been ineffective, you might say, for the whole night. And so Altona will be readying another substitution, but for now they play on with 10. Gillard lobbing it forward towards Mabok. Karang Aru stepping into the back line in the absence of Stoichevsky. This is Kawaguchi. Looking towards one of Sutomo or Kalat. Instead, Labib has it for the Cannons. So maybe a brief opportunity here for Oakleigh with the numerical advantage. A third goal would go a long way to wrapping up the 3 points for them. Well, having taken the lead, you can sense already maybe some of the urgency is dissipated. Still will be looking to score Oakleigh, but No need to take as many risks or be as fast and loose as we've seen at times in this second 45. And with that, a substitution will be made. Gavin Tasevsky coming on to replace Johnny Stojcevski. 22-year-old Tasevsky came off the bench at right around this time last week as well. Same thing for Mabok. Both players introduced in the second half at around the time that they have been tonight. Altona will certainly hope that Johnny Stojcevski is not suffering from any more serious injury from that incident. It's a really well-timed challenge there from Joseph Ford. And referee says goal kick, very cleverly playing it off the attacker.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for Oakleigh, who are traditionally one of the strongest teams defensively throughout the course of a 26-round season. Joseph Ford, who we saw signs of last season at Hume City that he was quite an accomplished and versatile player. Getting the starting nod in that position over Brodie Boyce, who spent the better part of the last 3 seasons as Oakleigh's first choice right back, and in that period played 80 games. I think in the 23 season he may have been a centre back, but converted and has done really well at right back. As we see Fabrizio go in late on Guest, and he's picked up the 3rd yellow of the night for Altona Magic. But just shows you the strength in depth that Oakleigh have, that they can leave a player as important to their success in recent seasons as Brodie Boyce on the bench, and Ford's made a good start to life for the Cannons.
Of course, it was Ford who made that excellent challenge to end the most recent Altona attack. Here is Guest, though. Flicked on to the opposite side of the pitch. Jordan Hall looking to keep the attack going, but the assistant's flag indicating an Altona throw instead.
Unsurprisingly, no activity or buzz from the Oakleigh bench. I don't believe they'll be making a sub in the next couple of minutes, but you do imagine whoever they chuck on from their attacking options will be looking to add to the score line. Do wonder if Altona may have sort of exhausted themselves given how well they matched up earlier on, as we saw that quick free kick taken, almost caught Altona out, but goalkeeper was able to ultimately collect it.
Yeah, Casey went just a little bit flat-footed and very nearly spilled it right into the path of Alex Salmon, but gets away with it for now, so Altona's prospects of taking something from this game remain very much alive. Of course, if the Cannons were to grab a third, it would be a hat-trick of 3-1 results in which these two teams have been involved to open 2026. Well, it's one of those scenarios where you can understand CT not too eager to mix with the balance. His team have taken firm control of this game in the second half. That ball out towards Kawaguchi, though. It's a really nice first touch. A minor drag back and enough to prompt the referee's whistle. See the argumentation that maybe there should be a yellow card to go along with it.
And I'm very surprised there's not a yellow card, because had Hampson not dragged back Kawaguchi, I think Kawaguchi creates a goal-scoring opportunity there for Altona. I think Jock Quartermain's had a pretty good night at the office so far, but yeah, that's a surprising one for sure.
Well, the consolation prize for the Magic is they do have themselves a dead ball situation. This one sent in. Doesn't clear the first man though. And maybe opens the path for an Oakleigh counter-attack. That's a wonderful intervention from Alex Gust. Essential, you'd say, to denying a golden chance for the Cannons to make it 3. Gust, who gave the big rap in the first half to Mir, and he's gotten better and better as the night has worn on. This is Kawaguchi going to the opposite side. Gust charging forward now, losing out to Labib. But the Magic continue their move, and outside of the ball delivery, too far away to give Mabok a real look. Tomo unable to trap that ball as it headed in his general direction. That one hoping to pick out Salmon, but instead Gillard well placed. Now Kalat has Fabrizio and Kawaguchi, goes with the former. And taking no chances is Jacob Tratt. And another corner now for the Magic.
Did speak to earlier a few minutes ago when I suggested that Altona maybe have ran out of legs, because based on the evidence of the last 2-3 minutes, there's still plenty of fight left in him, and almost came to fruition there. Another good foray forward, but it's well defended by the Oakleigh defence.
So is there to be a way back in it for Altona? Tomo presents as a short option. It's the direct approach instead. Picked out a teammate's head in Gillard, but unable to keep the attempt down. And Tom Manos will gratefully, maybe a little bit slowly, retrieve the ball to get play back underway. So as we head into the final 13 minutes of the 90, as you were alluding to, Demir, certainly doesn't seem beyond the realm of possibility for Altona to get themselves back into this game. Still getting forward and into dangerous areas. They've been lacking that clinical touch in the final third up to this point.
Another new signing that's looked pretty impressive for Altona has been Garang Aru, as we see Oakleigh going to the bench for the first time tonight, and there won't be a hat-trick for Liston Diaz, but he can be pretty pleased with himself following his 2-goal haul tonight, and mentioned his goal-scoring record, which is impressive when you factor in the minutes he's played at this level of football, and it's Adam Duratovic who comes on to replace him around a similar point in time to last week's game as well.
Yeah, then Duratovic in his second season with the Cannons, hoping to make an impact in the final 15 or so minutes of this one. Taking up that wide position, despite playing most of his football as a central striker. But fitting into a team with Alex Salmon is no mean feat. Ball forward is a good one as Sordo keeps the attack going. This is Kalat. Committed Hall, and still continuing was Kalat. Hall unconventionally getting the ball behind for a corner, this time from that far side. It's been a game heavy on the set pieces, both corners and free kicks. Somewhat surprising, just that we're yet to see a goal directly from one. That could change here to the back post. Garangaroo! It's over the line, and Altona are level. It was a scramble on the goal line for the Cannons, but in fact the goal, it's been ruled out for a handball. Altona thought they were level. Jock Quartermain makes the signal. And well, that is dispiriting for Altona Magic, to say the least.
As we hear plenty of disapproval from a section of Altona Magic fans to that decision. I must say I didn't see a hand in there, but there were a number of bodies blocking my viewpoint. It was a great header across goal from Aru, and it may have gone in had it not been for that intervention. I think it was it Fabrizio or Kellart who may have gotten on the end of it. I think Kellart was initially claiming it, and I did see Fabrizio remonstrating with the referee, as pointing to his chest. So a bit of a pill to swallow for Altona, but you'd imagine that they'd still have a few more opportunities over the course of the remainder of this game, but they also have to be wary of Oakleigh's danger in attack.
As you say, really just a massive bodies on the goal line. Tough to tell exactly where the alleged handball took place. Jock Quartermain, better position than us to see. And the good news for Altona is they've proven they can breach the Oakleigh defence again, including directly from one of those corners, of which they've had so many tonight. And that sets us up for a really exciting final 9 minutes of the 90-plus stoppage. The Cannons would cherish a third goal here because they really feel the Magic are coming. Collard creates some space. Chance for a long-range attempt from Sordo. Now Gust. Goes the patient approach. That one from Hall, temporarily averting the danger. And now Kawaguchi, trying the subtle pass to Tsutomo, but his teammate caught out by the quickness of the pass. It's a wonderful spreading pass from Aru. Once more, though, Jordan Hall is there. He's becoming more and more important as this game is wearing on, Jordan Hall. And that's a well-timed challenge. Opportunity here for Oakleigh. They spring forward. Nice touch from Salmon. Gets the cross inside. Finds its way all the way through. Jaradovic shoots. And Casey Went, not for the first time tonight, is grateful as the shot is fired right at his body. Another golden chance for Oakleigh to presumably put the game to bed. But instead, the Magic continue to prod and probe. Sent in by Tsutomo. Finds a teammate's head as well. Still we continue. Fabrizio kept his feet. Corner for Altona to come.
As we see Hampson remonstrating with the referee, but I thought that was actually a fair call there, and Fabrizio almost got himself on the score sheet for a second time there, but the Oakleigh was able to intervene, and Duratovic, I think he'd be disappointed by that one because either side went, and that's a goal, and it's 3-1, and perhaps good night to the Magic.
So another corner to be sent in. This time Manos is a little bit more decisive, and that was a really solid claim from the goalkeeper. Well, the scoreline reads 2-1, but do not be fooled. This is a game that has been packed with action, and there may well still be more to come as the Magic look to find themselves an equaliser. Well, for Oakleigh, having controlled so much of the middle portion of this game, can be so awkward to readjust into a predominantly defensive game style as they're being forced to do at the moment. Here is Kalat. Sends it to the other side of the park, and Fabrizio is offside.
In terms of defensive options for Chris Taylor, he does have Brody Boyce, so on the substitutes bench. So I do wonder if he's a player that we see being introduced at some point in the last 10 or so minutes of this game to shore up this result. So we see Labib and Aru fighting for possession. I think Aru's done really well there to get himself in front and whip the ball up long.
Guest with a little shove on Kawaguchi, but not enough to prompt the referee's whistle. Here's Salmon. Skips past one and then lost control. I'll tell you what, Demir, regardless of the result at this point, Altona have certainly proven in their first two games that they're going to pack a little bit more of a punch in season 2026. I mean, if they were to nab a late goal or two in this one, for Oakleigh to come away from their first two with maybe just a single point would feel a bit harsh for a team that has played quite well in both of those games. As things stand, though, they're creeping closer to picking up their first win of the campaign. Salmon into the path of Duratovic. Now Sinclair spreads it to Labib. Strong and forward, losing out. Well, one back by Mabok. A really impressive reflection of the fitness of both of these teams as well. They've managed to maintain such a high intensity for significant chunks of this round two fixture. And still Altona continuing to press with great zeal. But the Cannons work their way through now. Adem Duratovic has Guest more centrally. He slides it through to Salmon. The goalkeeper's come off his line. Salmon looking to get it past him. It's gone all the way through. Oakleigh have their third and surely now have wrapped up the 3 points. Composed attacking play from Alex Salmon. He managed to squirm it past Casey Went. And the ball finding its way all the way into the back of the net.
Well, he's not one of the most prolific strikers this competition has seen for no reason, and Alex Salmon in that instance proves just why he's so deadly. Didn't appear to be much there for him, but he was able to turn, shoot, and cause enough of a bobble on that ball to make it really difficult for Went to prevent it from going back into the back of the net. And it thinks surely now Oakleigh have all 3 points sealed, and it's quite interesting how, having been on the receiving end of 3-1 results in the first round of the season, it's 3-1 here tonight.
Well, Oakleigh want 4. Labib centres it to Salmon. Salmon to the back post. Just out of the reach of Joe Guest, who continues to run himself into the ground. And we'll take you a step further, Jimmy. Not just another 3-1 result, but another 3-1 result where the team who scored the early goal was overrun by 3 from their opposition. And joys of symmetry will no doubt be in dreamland. Forward, crossfield ball. This is Salmon. Makes some space on his right. Alex Salmon thundered it towards goal. And an acrobatic save from Went.
It's party football now from the Cannons attack, and Alex Salmon is leading the charge. Having seen one go into the back of the net, he's brimming with confidence, and see if Oakleigh can extend their lead, because the big bodies of Trad and Hall have gone in there.
Another one of the deeper deliveries into the box. Gillard in the right place at the right time. Into the final 60 seconds of the 90 now. And Oakleigh having a little bit more fun as they go forward, but also won't be taking any unnecessary risks as they wouldn't like to put themselves under some pressure in the stoppage time that is to come. Tasevsky. Now the crossfield ball towards Fabrizio. His opening goal feels a long time ago at the moment.
Well, I guess if you're Altona, the contentious moment of this game is that disallowed goal to make it 2-2. So we see the fourth official hold up the board for an additional 5 minutes of play as the clock hits 90, and Duratovic keeps the ball in.
Clever 1-2 with Sinclair. It's Duratovic's shot. And again, it's Gillard. He has just been everywhere in this second half. His performance not deserving of a losing team, and Fabrizio, one of those really awkward coming together. And he remains in a little bit of pain, but that will allow Oakleigh to make their substitutions. And it's the end of the night for Lebib. He's replaced by Thomas Alessandratos, making his first NPL appearance of the campaign. And Kingsley Sinclair, the other man, making his way towards the touchline. And what looks to be Brodie Boyce taking his place. Slotting into that midfield spot vacated by Sinclair. So Boyce adding to his list of positions that we know he's capable of playing. And is there to be a final surge from Altona? Sutomo looks central, picks out Tasevsky. Now Sordo out towards Fabrizio. The cross is a good one. Awkward to deal with, but eventually the Cannons get it upfield. Garangaroo over towards Fabrizio. Well blocked though is the shot by Connor Hampson. Cross sent in. Another look at goal for the Magic. Neither player able to make good connection though. Well, looking ahead to next week for Oakleigh. First time they'll be heading away from Jack Edwards Reserve. And quite a way away as well. Up to Churchill Reserve to take on St Albans Dynamo in another Friday night fixture. As for Altona, they'll be looking forward to a first game at Paisley Park of the season. And it's a big one as well as they host South Melbourne next Saturday evening. Wonderful sliding intervention there from Brodie Boyce. And that long ball will be left for Thomas Manos, who hasn't had the most comfortable of evenings, but will be grateful to see his team pick up their first 3 points of the campaign. This is Guest. Ball just about kept out. There's another attempt coming in now. This time from the substitute Alessandratos. Well saved by Casey Went, who's also had plenty to do this evening. Well, I presume, Demir, that ultimately you come away from tonight of the belief that Altona will pose more of a threat this season than they did last to some of the upper echelon residents in NPL Men's Victoria.
Yeah, I think based on the performances tonight, you view Oakleigh as a contender for the championship this season? Well, performances of the first 2 weeks, even though last week was disappointing for them. But Altona Magic, if you thought of them as a relegation candidate heading into this season, I think you come away from these two performances convinced that they should be aspiring for more, or, you know, that ultimately they will achieve more this campaign, because I think once again they've recruited well. Aru, Sutomo, Sordo have all looked good, and there won't be time for Oakleigh to bring on Giacarini and Pefriotis because the referee has blown full time, and Oakleigh Cannons to emerge 3-1 victors.
Yeah, indeed, it is Oakleigh who reversed their fortunes from last week. It was they who went behind to an early goal tonight. That one scored by Daniel Fabrizio, but the Cannons came roaring back as the match wore on. A double from Liston Diaz doing most of the damage, and I think we're crediting that third goal to Alex Salmon, as Oakleigh overrunning their visitors tonight and picking up their first 3 points of the campaign. No doubt they'll be there contending for honours this season, as they have been for so long now under Chris Taylor. For Altona, they look forward to their first home game of the season next weekend, having already tallied 3 points to their name and with plenty to build on in 2026.
Just in those final few minutes of that game, I did go back and watch the disallowed goal once again. One of the things that you notice instantly is that a number of Oakleigh players in and around the area appealed for a handball. It's difficult to tell on the replay whether there was a handball, because there's plenty of bodies covering a clear viewpoint of it. But if Keller did handball it, it did look inadvertent. And even so, if that's the case, the goal has correctly been disallowed, because as we've seen, even if it's accidental, inadvertent, if it leads to a goal, then the attacking player is penalised for the handball, and that does appear to be a correct application of the rules if that is what has happened. Like I said, it's a bit hard to tell, but as I was mentioning beforehand, Oscar, I think, you know, if you're Altona, you'd be disappointed that you don't come away with a draw, but you'd be pretty impressed with the way that they played, and a number of their recruits have once again been quite good against one of the best teams in the competition. Oakleigh, more of what's expected from them this campaign. Probably could have maybe extended the scoreline a bit, but I think 3-1 is a fair reflection of their performance. Maybe you'd say it was a bit closer than that. I think 3-2, and you'd say the score's just about right, but I think both teams can be satisfied with the levels of football that they reached tonight.
Well, plenty to discuss throughout the week, but the result on the night is in favour of the host Oakleigh Cannons. Thank you for your company. Thank you, Demir, as well, for all of your insight. But that's full time from Jack Edwards Reserve on this Friday night. And the scoreline reading at the end of the night, Oakleigh Cannons 3, Altona Magic 1.